Horror games come in many forms. Some rely on shock, others on atmosphere. But the ones that truly get under your skin are the ones that stay with you long after the screen fades to black. This list covers 15 of the scariest horror games ever made. Titles that don't just scare you but disturb you. Number 1. Silent Hill 2 Remake. Silent Hill 2 Remake isn't just a horror game, it's an experience that slowly wears away at your peace of mind. The moment you step into the fog-covered streets, the game starts to get under your skin. Not just because of the monsters, but because of guilt, loss, and unresolved trauma. The town feels alive, and somehow, it forces you to remember the things you'd rather leave buried. What makes this game truly terrifying isn't just how it looks, it's the atmosphere. The dense fog isn't just a backdrop, it makes you feel isolated, cut off. The light that should guide you? It only adds to the confusion. And the sound design? Deeply unsettling. Sometimes all you hear are soft footsteps, or an old machine suddenly whirring to life for no reason at all. At many points, you feel like something is watching you, even when there's nothing on the screen. That's what makes it so disturbing. The enemies here aren't just bizarre creatures, they represent something. Guilt, trauma, self-rejection. Fighting them doesn't feel like survival, it feels like punishment. And what's worse, sometimes you win, only to be broken later in ways you didn't expect. Silent Hill 2 Remake doesn't rely on jump scares. It's not trying to shock you. It wants to break you slowly. And the horror doesn't end when you close the game. It stays with you. It lingers in your mind. It makes you wonder, are you really done? If you're looking for horror that goes deeper than fear, something that gets inside your head and stays there, this is one of the most disturbing experiences ever made. Number 2, the Callisto Protocol. The Callisto Protocol isn't just another horror game, it's physical, and it feels deeply personal. From the moment you step into Black Iron Prison, something feels off. The lights flicker. The rusted hallways feel too tight. You hear strange noises echoing through the vents. Rumbles, growls, something moving just out of sight. You know something's out there, but you never know when it'll strike. And that's what makes it terrifying. Unlike most horror games that rely on quick jump scares, the Callisto Protocol builds fear through constant tension. You hear sounds, but see nothing. You catch glimpses of shadows, but no enemy appears. This kind of psychological pressure keeps you on edge, and just when you let your guard down, that's when it hits you. The enemies, biophage, aren't just grotesque. They come from places you don't expect, crawling out of vents, exploding from what you thought were dead bodies, or just waiting silently in a dark corner. You never feel safe, not even after clearing a room. There's no victory music, no relief, just silence and the next wave of fear. What makes it even more disturbing is how close it all feels. When you're attacked, the camera zooms in, tight, on Jacob's face. Every death is brutal, detailed, and meant to make you flinch. But it's not just the gore that gets to you. It's the helplessness, the feeling that you're always vulnerable, always being hunted, and never sure who, if anyone, can be saved. The Callisto Protocol isn't scary because of its monsters. It's scary because of the atmosphere, the pressure, the isolation. You're trapped in a place you can't leave, with nothing but your own fear.
My sign detected.
Grab him. Hey, what are you doing?
Say I don't need.
Number 3, Outlast 2. Outlast 2 isn't just a sequel, it's an atmospheric horror experience that digs into fears you didn't know you had. You play as Blake Langerman, a journalist forced to explore the Arizona desert after a crash lands him near a remote village called Temple Gate. That's where the real horror begins, not from zombies or monsters, but from people, from their beliefs. In this village, religion and paranoia merge into something deadly. And what makes it worse? It feels familiar. We fear what we recognize. Unlike many horror games, Outlast 2 doesn't rely on jump scares to keep you anxious. Instead, it builds dread slowly. You'll hear footsteps in the distance, ritual chants echoing faintly, doors creaking open in narrow, dark hallways. The camera's microphone becomes crucial. Every whisper or thump becomes a reminder that you're not alone, even when nothing's in sight. One of the most terrifying sections? The school. Once filled with laughter, now it's empty, silent. The floor is cracked, the colors feel drained. As you walk, shadows stretch and shift without reason. And when the chase begins, the silence breaks into raw terror. According to Reddit threads and user reviews, the school sequences are often described as the visual peak of fear in the entire game. The environment design adds to the stress. There's no traditional HUD. To check your inventory or camera battery, you have to physically look down. It pulls you in and heightens the discomfort, especially when you're on the run and unsure how much you have left. The enemy AI isn't dumb. It surrounds you. It ambushes from tight spaces. It crawls through vents. You can't just sprint to safety. Your battery drains, your stamina fades. Fighting back? Not really an option. All you've got is your brain and whatever courage you can hold on to. At its core, Outlast 2 is a deeply personal horror. It's not just about what can kill you physically, it's about what haunts your mind. Trauma, guilt, helplessness. These aren't just themes, they're weapons used against you, and they cut deeper than any jump scare ever could. If you're looking for horror that lingers longer than a loud noise, Outlast 2 is something you need to experience. It doesn't just scare you, it unsettles you. And that feeling doesn't go away when the game ends. Number 4. The Quarry. The Quarry doesn't just mimic horror films, it wants you to feel like you're living inside one. And the tension doesn't come from monsters, it comes from your own decisions. You control 9 summer camp counselors. Every small choice you make can change their fate, who lives, who dies. But the real fear isn't some creature lurking in the dark, it's the feeling of not knowing. You think you figured out where the story's headed until you realize you were completely wrong. Hackett's Quarry feels alive through cinematic visuals and uncannily realistic character expressions. Their faces tell the story. You see tension in Maya's eyes, hesitation in Katie's half-smile. It makes you connect with them. And while much of the game involves characters walking slowly or just standing still, the atmosphere stays heavy. The tension builds quietly, but it never stops. The Quarry doesn't rely heavily on jump scares. It's not about sudden, loud noises. Instead, the fear creeps in through sound, timing, and a story that constantly shifts. Just when you think you're safe, the camera cuts, someone screams, and the threat appears from nowhere. It's not random. It's designed to hit you hard. One of the most stressful features is the don't breathe system. When danger's close, you have to hold your breath and stay perfectly still. But there's a time limit. After that, you can run or wait it out, both risky. These moments spike your heart rate and make you second-guess everything. Then there's the tarot card system. You get glimpses of the future, but only fragments. That actually makes things more intense. You know something's coming, but you don't know when or how. Every glimpse leaves you on edge. While The Quarry does mix in some humor and nods to classic 80s teen horror movies, the game still delivers real, brutal, and unpredictable scares. Some players say the jump scares are too few or too chaotic. But when they land, they hit hard. And here's the thing, the story doesn't end when the credits roll. Players often share stories of nightmares or lingering tension long after putting down the controller. That's proof The Quarry succeeds at pulling you deep into a world that refuses to let go. Number 5. The Medium. The Medium isn't terrifying because of cheap jump scares. It's terrifying because fear creeps in slowly, then never really leaves. You play as Marianne, a woman with a disturbing gift. She can exist in 2 realities at once, the physical world and the spirit world. And you don't switch between them. Both realities unfold simultaneously, side by side, on screen. One body, 2 dimensions. It's not just a gameplay gimmick, it's how the game locks you in and slowly tears you apart. There are no loud soundtracks, no frantic chases. Tension builds in silence. You feel something watching. Every hallway feels just slightly off. Marianne's breathing is heavy, strained, and somehow you feel it too. There's nothing visibly wrong, and yet everything feels wrong. And then comes the Maw, not a monster that jumps out at you. He whispers. His voice is soft, cold, and deeply unsettling. You don't just feel fear, you feel worn down. Every line he speaks seems to chip away at what little comfort you thought you had left. The medium's scariest moments aren't about dying, they're about being helpless. You're not given a weapon, you can't fight back. All you can do is stay still, hold your breath, and hope whatever's out there doesn't find you. As the real and spirit worlds start to overlap violently, the lines blur, until you can't tell what's real and what's nightmare. And the visuals? They're not designed to be pretty, they're designed to mess with you. The spirit world is full of twisted limbs, exposed flesh, and structures that defy logic. Inspired by the art of Zdzisław Beksinski, it's a place that resists understanding. Your mind tries to make sense of it, and fails. That's where the real horror is. In the things that simply shouldn't exist. If you think you're numb to horror games, the medium isn't something you beat. It's something you endure. Slowly, breath by breath. Because this game doesn't let you feel safe. Not for a second.
And everything. It all ends in me.
Number 6. Outlast. Outlast isn't just a horror game. It's a nightmare you have to live through. From the very beginning, there's no sense of safety, no comfort, no control. You're not a hero. You're not a soldier. You're just a journalist with nothing but a camcorder in your hand. No weapons, no protection, and you've just stepped into Mount Massive Asylum, a place where logic no longer applies. What's left is darkness, strange whispers, and things that shouldn't move, but do. You can't fight back. All you can do is run, hide, crawl under beds, slip into lockers, and hope they don't find you. But sometimes, they do. What makes Outlast truly disturbing isn't just the gore or the violence. It's the loss of control. Your night vision camera is your only way to see in the dark, but its batteries drain fast. And when the light fades, panic sets in. You move faster, your footsteps echo louder, and then you realize something's following you. There's no warning music, no cues, just breathing, whispers, footsteps coming from the shadows. Sometimes you hear someone talking to themselves in the hallway. Sometimes you see a headless body just sitting there, like nothing's wrong. Outlast makes fear feel personal, intimate. You never know when something's going to happen or where it's coming from, but you know it will happen. Every minute you play, you forget it's just a game, because it feels like you're being watched. Outlast isn't about survival. It's about trying not to lose your mind. Number 7. Blair Witch. Blair Witch isn't your typical horror game filled with gore or loud jump scares, but that's exactly what makes it more terrifying. The fear creeps in slowly, quietly, until you start questioning what's real and what's not. You play as Ellis Lynch, a former cop with a troubled past. He enters the Black Hills forest with his loyal dog Bullet to search for a missing boy. At first, it feels straightforward, but the deeper you go, the stranger things get. The paths start repeating, you hear sounds from directions that don't make sense, and you start to wonder, who else is out here? This game doesn't scare you with monsters jumping out. The figures you see are fast, barely visible, just shadows slipping between trees, but you know they're there. You hear them. Whispers, footsteps, sounds you can't explain. What really makes Blair Witch feel oppressive is the atmosphere. The camera sways like you're struggling to stand. The light is never enough. The forest changes shape, every turn feels like a trap. And when you glance over your shoulder, sometimes there's something there. But before you can make sense of it, it's already gone. Ellis is unraveling too. You'll witness flashbacks, nightmares, and moments where everything loses meaning. You don't know if what you're seeing is memory or hallucination. Reality and nightmare start blending, and you, the player, begin to feel just as lost. Your dog Bullet isn't just a companion, he's your last connection to sanity. He leads the way, barks when danger's near, or sometimes he just stares into the darkness, quiet, still. And that's when the dread hits hardest, because you don't know what he sees, but you feel it. As you reach the end, the game leads you into a decaying old house. The layout constantly shifts. There's no big monster to fight, no chase scenes, but the tension is crushing. Each room feels like a test, not just for Ellis, but for you. The walls close in, the air feels heavier, and you realize you're not just playing a horror story, you're inside it. Blair Witch doesn't slam you with fear, it seeps in, slowly, patiently, until it chips away at your sense of safety, until you no longer trust what you're seeing or hearing. And just when you think you understand what's happening, the game whispers back, "You don't. You're wrong."
Jess? Jess?
Number 8. Observer. Observer isn't scary because of blood or monsters. It's scary because of something much deeper, your own mind. You play as Daniel Lazarski, a neural detective. His job isn't just to gather evidence, but to dive straight into other people's minds. And in a world broken by war, disease, and technology, the human mind isn't a safe place anymore. All that's left are trauma, chaos, and memories no one should see. Every case you investigate pulls you deeper, not just through space or time, but into uncertainty. Hallways shift shape. Sounds come from nowhere. Walls pulse. Faces appear and vanish. And time no longer moves in a straight line. You start losing your bearings. Then, slowly, you lose yourself. You don't just see someone's past, you live it. But those memories are broken, cracked like an old tape forced to play again. Unstable, untrustworthy, and once you're inside, you can get trapped. You don't know how long. All you can do is survive, inside someone else's nightmare. What makes Observer so suffocating is the silence. Not ordinary silence, but an empty space filled with tiny sounds, faint whispers, soft breaths that feel too close. You look around, no one's there, but you know you're not alone. Gradually, the brokenness stops coming just from outside. Daniel himself starts to falter. He can't tell what's real and what's just the residue of simulations. And as the player, you feel it too. This game doesn't give you control, doesn't offer a clear way out, because that's not the point. At some point, you stop fearing what appears. You start fearing what never does, because you know something's waiting. Behind the scenes, silent, watching. Observer isn't about solving mysteries. It's about how deep you can sink into the darkness of the mind before you can't come back. Number 9. Little Hope. Little Hope isn't just about ghosts or curses. It's about the heavy weight of secrets and guilt that refuses to let go. You follow a group of strangers trapped in a fog-covered town with a dark past. As they try to unravel the mystery, the lines between their own lives and the town's history start to blur. Every choice you make changes not only their fate, but also the story itself. The game blends reality and nightmare, forcing you to face terrifying visions and horrifying truths. It's not about jump scares, but about that creeping dread that settles deep in your chest. Visually, the town feels alive with its eerie streets, abandoned buildings, and relentless fog swallowing everything. The haunting soundtrack and chilling voice acting pull you deeper into a world where nothing is as it seems. In Little Hope, fear isn't just what's lurking outside, it's what's buried inside each character, waiting to be uncovered.
What the hell is this thing?
A warning, perhaps.
Get off of me!
What more proof is needed that the devil walks among us in Little Hope?
Number 10. House of Ashes. House of Ashes isn't your typical horror game. The terror doesn't just come from the creatures hiding underground, it comes from trauma, distrust, and choices you can't take back. You control 5 characters, soldiers from 2 opposing sides, American and Iraqi, trapped together after a failed military operation in 2003. They fall into an ancient, buried temple deep beneath the earth, and quickly realize this place is alive. Something is down there. Not human, not a ghost, but something ancient, something that should have stayed buried. But it's not the shape of the monsters that haunts you most, it's the uncertainty. Can you trust the person next to you? When survival's on the line, will you save them or let them die so you can live? The visuals are stark and unnerving. Crumbling ruins of war clash with forgotten temples carved in stone. Flickering torchlight is your only guide through tight corridors, while distant sounds in the dark keep you on edge. You know something's watching, waiting. Every choice you make matters. A single word, A split-second decision, a moment of hesitation, and someone could die. And when that happens, all you're left with is regret. House of Ashes isn't just about survival, it's about finding out who you really are, when everything else falls apart, when there's no more plan, no more clarity, just fear, and the weight of every decision you've made.
Tales of horror, of darkness, of death.
Number 11, The Devil in Me. The Devil in Me isn't just a story about a serial killer. It's a story about control, about manipulation, about the illusion of choice, when in truth, you are never really free. You follow a small documentary crew from Lana Entertainment. They're invited to a replica of H.H. Holmes' infamous murder hotel, the home of America's first serial killer. Their goal sounds simple: film one final episode for their true crime series. But the moment they arrive, something feels wrong. Doors start locking, hallways shift, walls move without warning. What first looked like a horror-themed tourist trap slowly turns into something far more calculated. Someone, unknown, unseen, has designed everything. Traps, surveillance, even the method of death for each crew member. Nothing is accidental. But what makes The Devil in Me truly disturbing isn't monsters. There are no supernatural creatures here. What's terrifying is how human it all feels. Someone is watching. Someone who understands how your brain works. Who knows when you'll hesitate, when you'll panic, when you'll make the wrong choice. You're forced to decide, constantly. And almost every decision carries risk. Tiny moments can spiral into irreversible consequences. You know that, but you still have to choose. Because not choosing is just as dangerous. The hotel itself is more than just a setting. It feels like a living entity. Claustrophobic corridors, fake doors, hidden torture rooms. Sometimes you're being chased. Sometimes you're completely alone. And it's in that silence where the fear hits hardest. The Devil in Me isn't horror you can casually watch or play through. It demands your focus. It forces you to think, to react, to question. Are you actually changing anything, or is this all part of someone else's design? Because in the end, what's scarier than death is realizing you were never in control at all.
What was that?
Can't handle much more of this.
There's a lot of miles between eccentric and murderous. You okay?
Not even close.
Number 12, Layers of Fear. Layers of Fears isn't about cheap jump scares. It's about something much deeper, the slow, quiet fracture of reality, the kind of fear that sneaks in until you start questioning everything. You play as multiple characters, a painter, an actress, a writer, all of them tied to one place, a lighthouse twisted into a mansion that shouldn't exist. But what haunts them isn't a monster. It's the past, regret, obsession, and the deeper you walk into their memories, the more the house reacts. Walls shift, rooms vanish, paintings scream, and suddenly, you wonder, are you exploring their story or being rewritten into it? This isn't a straight line. Layers of Fears folds time, loops events. One moment you're in a quiet hallway, the next, it's gone. The door behind you, never there. No sound, no warning, just subtle changes that make you feel lost, trapped, unsure if you're moving forward or starting over. But the real horror isn't what you see. It's what's never explained. This house doesn't want to kill you. It wants you to remember, to relive someone else's worst memories until they start to feel like your own. And the deeper you go, the more you stop trusting what you see or hear, even yourself. There are no traditional enemies. The house is the threat. The way it frames every shot, the way it controls your gaze, the way it holds silence, just long enough to break you. Visually, the game is stunning, and that's where the horror hits hardest. Beauty that's corrupted, art that mutates into something you can't look away from. The sound design? Relentless. Footsteps that aren't yours, whispers behind locked doors, a piano echoing from nowhere. Layers of Fears doesn't scare you with loud noises. It scares you with silence, with intimacy, with the creeping idea that what's broken might be you. And just when you think the story's over, when it finally feels complete, the house reminds you, it's not, because real horror doesn't end. It follows you, forever. Number 13, Martha is Dead. Martha is Dead isn't just a horror game, it's more like a heavy, psychological experience, centered on loss, identity, and wounds that never truly heal. You play as Julia, a young woman living in Italy in 1944, as World War II rages on. But the war outside isn't the real story here. The true conflict lies within her. Her twin sister Martha is found dead by a lakeshore. From that moment, the line between reality and delusion begins to blur. What makes this game feel so heavy isn't just its dark visuals, it's the courage to explore themes most games shy away from. Mental illness, childhood trauma, broken family relationships, lingering guilt, none of it is sugar-coated. There are no cheap jump scares, no bizarre monsters, and because of that, the fear feels more real, more intimate. There's no enemy you can fight because the greatest threat is inside you, fragmented memories, whispering voices with no clear source. The game unfolds at a slow, quiet pace, but it's precisely this calm that makes every disturbance feel unnatural. A photograph that suddenly shifts position, a whisper that comes out of nowhere, a scene so silent it feels suffocating. The game doesn't hold back from showing disturbing, even brutal imagery. Some moments may make you want to look away, not to shock you, but to depict wounds that words can't quite describe. The most terrifying thing about Martha is Dead isn't death itself. It's the loss of a sense of who you are. When it becomes impossible to tell who's alive, who's honest, or even who you're really playing as. By the time the truth begins to surface, it's often too late to turn back. This game is definitely not for everyone, but for those willing to face it, Martha is Dead delivers a rare kind of psychological horror experience. Honest, painful, and deeply human.
Since then, the spirit of the girl, known as the White Lady, wanders restlessly in search of relief from her eternal suffering.
Number 14, Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 is kind of a game changer for the series because it switches things up with a first-person view, which makes the whole experience way more immersive. Instead of watching your character from a distance, you're seeing everything through Ethan's eyes. And that really pulls you into this creepy rundown house in Louisiana. Now, about the scariness, it's not just about sudden jump scares, though there are definitely some of those. What's really effective is how the game builds this constant feeling of tension. The house itself is full of tight, claustrophobic spaces and dark corners where you never really feel safe. The sounds like creaking floors, distant whispers, or random noises add to this feeling that something bad could happen any second. The enemies are pretty unpredictable too. You can't just run around blasting everything because ammo is limited. And sometimes the threat comes from places you don't expect. So you're always cautious, always on edge, trying to figure out what's around the next corner or whether you should hide instead of fight. Another cool thing is how the game uses VR to crank up the immersion even more. If you play it with a VR headset, it's like you're actually inside that house, and that definitely makes the tension hit a whole new level. Overall, Resident Evil 7's scariness comes from this mix of atmosphere, smart enemy design, and the way it keeps you guessing. It's not just about making you jump once or twice, it's about keeping that uneasy feeling with you the whole time, so it sticks long after you've stopped playing.
You ain't getting away.
15 scariest horror games you can play right now. Not just because of their stunning visuals, thanks in part to Unreal Engine, but because of how they build fear. Slowly, personally, and sometimes a little too real. Each game on this list delivers horror in its own way. Some push you psychologically, some are brutal and give you no time to breathe, and some make you constantly wonder, are you really safe, or is it just not your turn yet? One thing's for sure, these games aren't just entertainment, they're experiences, and sometimes those experiences leave something behind, a feeling that lingers even after the screen goes dark. If you've got other horror games you think are even scarier, drop them in the comments, and remember, only if you're brave enough.